Well, it's something many of us do on a daily basis and check in on it, posting pictures, updating our statuses, even liking comments. But how much do we really think about what we do online and who has access to that? Just recently, Facebook is now accused of selling some of your personal data. Facebook will now have to fork up to $1.4 million for apparently collecting personal information in Spain and then using it for advertising. Here's the story.
Nearly 2 billion use Facebook a month, but not all of them pay attention to how safe their online data is. A national data protection watchdog said Facebook will be fined a hefty sum for collecting and passing on user information to advertisers in Spain. The fine stemmed after an investigation into the social media company conducted along similar investigations in Belgium, France, Germany and the Netherlands. The $1.4 million fine is a fraction of Facebook's quarterly revenue of about $8 billion and $435 billion stock market capitalization. The investigation agency found at least 3 cases where Facebook had collected information like gender, personal tastes, browsing history and religious beliefs. Facebook allegedly obtained this information without letting users in Spain know how this data would be used or stored. Facebook did not comment about this or make a statement, but the probe found that the social media giant did not let users know how it would use data collected on third-party websites. In its statement, the National Data Protection Watchdog said, and I quote here, Facebook's privacy policy contains generic and unclear terms. The social network uses specifically protected data for advertising, among other purposes, without obtaining users' express consent, as a data protection law demands, a serious infringement. Facebook also uses cookies to collect data from people who do not have an account but navigate other pages containing a like button. Facebook users' activity can be tracked to third-party websites and the information is added to what is already linked to the Facebook account. The agency said that it found evidence that the network kept information for more than 17 months after users even closed their accounts. This is just the latest in a series of legal battles Facebook has tackled in recent years. France's watchdog group fined Facebook recently for failing to prevent user information from getting to advertisers after a 2-year-long investigation. Bureau Report, WION.
All right, to get a perspective on this story, we're now joined by Vidushi Marda, a privacy law expert and the member of the Center for Internet and Society, joining us. Thank you so much for your perspective. Let's dive right into this conversation. A lot of us use Facebook. We don't think about it perhaps, but those games, those apps, those quizzes, we're all guilty of it one way, shape or form. And now Facebook, a very popular social media networking site, paying the price of getting fined. What should people do? How can people protect themselves? Your thoughts?
Thanks for that. So I think I like to think of Facebook very often as a room full of one-sided mirrors. So where we use the product and we, we're distracted by our own pictures and our likes and, like you said, the games and what people say under our posts and stuff like that. But we're distracted by who can actually see us and who can actually see what's happening inside the room. So the Spanish regulator actually called out the fact that Facebook is simply not doing enough to meaningfully inform users about how their data is collected, how it's stored, and how it's used. And so I think as users of the product, we need to become more critical of how we engage with the platform. So, for example, most people who use Facebook never log out. They're logged into Facebook the entire day as they browse everything else. And somehow it becomes this zero-sum game of I have nothing to hide, so I don't care what Facebook knows about me. Anyway, I've told them my date of birth. But I think, like the regulator has pointed out, and like a lot of people have been worried about for a long time, Facebook kind of knows stuff that we don't want them to know. And the problem is that it's an unequal relationship, so we don't even know what they know. And the first step is to first become more critical and call the platform out as users, not just as lawyers or as professionals, but as users of the product.
Vidushi, let me also ask you sort of a follow-up question. There was also accusations that Facebook, it wasn't just this incident that happened in Spain, apparently even in France and some of the other European countries, Belgium, Germany, the Netherlands as well. So certainly many agencies there in Europe stepping up the probe. But let's branch this out. Facebook, of course, popular all around the world. What potentially, if Facebook did in fact give out this information or perhaps weren't strict enough in protecting user data, what could happen to that? If you're a user in one of these countries where Facebook is accused of giving that information to ad agencies or whomsoever, what are the potential implications to the end user?
So I actually think that ad revenue is not the most worrying issue. So in 2014, there was a report that Facebook themselves published showing how they had demarcated about 1 million users and showed half of those users happy news and the other half sad news to see if they could have an effect on their mood. And the study showed that Facebook can, in fact, significantly affect the mood you're in, the mind space you're in, and also the way you think. So I think, if we're not careful and if we're not going to call out the platform for what it does and how it does, practice around user data, what can happen is that it can become intrusive in our lives in a way that we don't even always know and we can't know simply because it is opaque by its very architecture. But also then we lose control over what we choose to share online. Because when you sign up to Facebook, you give them your date of birth and you give them your name and you give them, the city in which you grew up. But you don't necessarily want them to know your religious beliefs or your sexual orientation. And so that then spills on to advertising, which means that I don't even know if what I'm seeing is because of something that I have told the platform or because they're inferring that by how much time I spent reading a particular piece of news.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, especially when we're online, you even see some of those ads that pop up if you're on a travel website or if you're shopping. You automatically see that on your Facebook feed, maybe targeted advertising. Really quickly, as we wrap this up, Vidushi, any tips that people can perhaps partake in, even if they choose to be on Facebook, whether it's online or through their phone, to protect themselves in case situations like this does happen again?
So I think the first thing is to know what you're getting into. I think most people do not read privacy policies. They do not understand what is happening with their data. And so the first thing is to know what you're getting into. The second is to be more mindful of the kind of digital footprint that you leave by your behavior online. So if you have to be on Facebook, log out. Don't choose the option that says automatically sign in or stay signed in, because then you have no control over what Facebook knows about you. Also, there are many tools, like you can use an incognito window. You can do many not very user-friendly things as well. But as a user of Facebook, you're already giving away some of your rights. So the best way to engage in this kind of situation is A, be critical. Second, be mindful. And the third is call out the platform when situations like this arise.
All right, Vidushi, getting us updates on the Facebook Find story. Thank you so much for all of those tips and perspectives. We appreciate that.